And now, with a reminder to check out the speaker bio packet for fuller details, but without further ado, I welcome my very dear colleague, Jamie Dunlap, Chief of Creative Catalysts and Lifelong Learning from the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts, as well as her dear colleagues, Jason Kavulich, Director of Lackawanna County Area Agency on the Aging, and Dr. Catherine Richmond-Cullen, CEO and co-founder of neuroLEARN LLC, to tell us all about the fruits of their leveraging state investments labor. So Jamie, Kat, and Jason, I am so glad that you're with us today, and it's a pleasure to turn it over to you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Susan. We are really excited. We were just talking before our session, and truly, there's always a little bit of nerves before you present, but more than anything, I'm just so excited to share what we have put together through this amazing grant, courtesy of the E.A. Michelson Foundation and NASA. So I want to start off by saying thank you, Susan, for all of the hard work you put into making this leveraging state investment in creative aging program so successful, and just learning from each other and sharing. It has been really wonderful. So I want to thank you, Susan, NASA certainly, and the foundation, the E.A. Michelson Foundation, for your support of these initiatives across the country. We were thrilled to receive funding because it enabled us to bring to reality a vision that we had had for quite some time in Pennsylvania. And that vision we titled the Academy for Creative Aging. And what this is it's a free digital platform website that offers certification for teaching artists, as well as some on-demand video lessons for older adults. And we are super excited to share this new site with you today and hope that it is a useful tool for your agency as well. Certainly, this is kind of focused on, Pennsylvania, using Pennsylvania artists and Pennsylvania team really put this together, but this is a tool and a resource for all of you. So I really hope that it's something that others can find useful as well as you develop your initiatives in your states. So just thought I'd give you a little background on how we got here, how we got to this point where we felt that creating this online site and these online resources was the way for us to take our work to the next level in Pennsylvania. Starting back in 2015, the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts and the Pennsylvania, Department of Aging, we started working together to develop the Pennsylvania Creative Aging Initiative. So far, to date, the initiative has included project team training and evaluation, the development of some online training modules early on for senior center administrators. So rather than for teaching artists, which is what we're going to show you today, the initial set of training modules designed were for senior center administrators. We also did some in-person training for our Pennsylvania Council on the Arts staff and Department of Aging staff, and that training really focused on creative aging strategies, program design, implementation, and sustainability. And that was really wonderful. Again, right at the beginning of this work, we really started figuring out how we could partner more together and learning more about each other's agencies. Then we did a collaborative research project that was led by Dr. Cullen, who you're going to hear from today. And that project was really focused on the impact that a creative aging residency can have on a person's self-reported feelings of isolation and loneliness. And so we did that in collaboration with the Department of Aging. And that has taken us up to today, which is launching the Academy for Creative Aging site. So again, going back to the beginning, when we first started this work in Pennsylvania, our creative aging work, our team really worked closely, which I'm sure many of you did as well, with the National Center for Creative Aging, or NCCA. And we look to them for resources, input, and support. The NCCA's professionally designed online training tools, which unfortunately due to the retirement of NCCA are no longer available, those tools really became a big part of our collection of recommended resources. The tools were accessible, they were free to Pennsylvania teaching artists and to any artists across the country, and it helped them facilitate successful creative aging residencies throughout the state. So we had that consistency. So the inspiration for the development of the Academy for Creative Aging that we're going to show you today, it really stemmed from our awareness of understanding and realizing the need to have consistent professional development again. When that went away, that was a missing piece for us. And so luckily, with the Leveraging State Investments for Creative Aging grant, we were able to create and reimagine an online professional development program really inspired by NCCA that supports the growing and diversifying aging population in Pennsylvania. This site, these resources, the professional development you'll see, it aligns with both our State Arts Council's plan as well as our Department of Aging's plan. We were really trying to be mindful of that because we wanted this to be beneficial for both parties. So what we're going to do today is we're going to give you a walkthrough of the 2 tracks that are available on the site. There is the Academy's professional development track, which provides like module-based certification pathway for teaching artists, or quite honestly, professionals working with older adults in creative environments. To get the certificate, users have to complete a series of online modules. There are 6 in total that you'll get to see today. And in each of those modules, there is interactive videos, there's readings and resources. And at the end of each module, there's an opportunity for reflection, with an assessment that uses prompts that'll help stimulate some critical thinking and some reflection for the artists. And after all of the modules are complete, there is a final assessment. It's an assessment of 15 questions. And if a user scores, I believe, Dr. Cullen, you can correct me if I'm wrong, it's above a B. So getting most of the questions answered properly, then the artist or the user that's participating in the training will be able to download a certificate of completion, something they can print out, something they can save to their computer, something that can be included in grant applications, which is really important for us because we want to make sure that Department of Aging, area agencies on aging, different groups, Department of Military and Veterans Affairs, groups that we work with in Pennsylvania, we want them to know that the artists are effectively trained so that when they get into the different environments, they have successful creative aging residencies. So in addition to the training modules, the professional development piece, the platform also has a lessons on demand track, and that gives people an opportunity to explore the videos, the video catalog that's in the trainings. The lessons on demand were developed so that we could provide users, our older population, with an opportunity to participate in creative aging residency sessions, quite honestly, from the comfort of their home. You know, I think a lot of us saw in COVID shifting to virtual settings, and a lot of that has stayed, or there's hybrid options. So we wanted to provide an opportunity for folks to be able to participate in a creative aging residency session, either from home or in the safety of some environment that they feel comfortable in, or quite honestly, they could do it as a group at a senior center. That is also an option. The videos that you're going to see today include Indian classical dance. There is a video on how to create a still life self-portrait. So it's like poetry and photography combined. Then we have a session on storytelling through theater. And then finally, there's one on jazz singing fundamentals. So the videos on demand are free as well. And our intention is to promote those through our area agency on aging networks, senior centers, the Department of Aging's site, and various other places such as public broadcast stations, NPR affiliates, and so forth. We're hoping that these videos on demand will also be a promotional tool for the Academy for Creative Aging, to give folks an opportunity to see what's available there, but also to promote creative aging residencies in general. So that maybe a senior center or assisted living facility, what have you, might be interested in creative aging residencies, but they're not quite sure what that is. This is like a little taste of that, so they can see what to expect. So it's also a promotional tool. So I just want to end on, seeing this vision being brought to reality has been truly amazing. And I am incredibly grateful for the chance to share this site with all of you today. And I would absolutely be remiss if I did not end my introduction today by thanking Dr. Catherine Cullen, who you're going to hear from. Dr. Cullen developed the training curriculum, designed the site, and I'm just really thrilled that she's here today to guide us through the trainings and resources that are available. She truly is a brilliant educator, researcher, arts education advocate, and quite honestly, a great friend that I've had the really, truly wonderful opportunity to be able to work with for over 15 years now. I also want to thank very, very much Jason Kavulich, who is with the Lackawanna County Area Agency on Aging. He has been a champion of this work. His continued support and insight on the importance of creative aging residencies and how to help promote those has just really been fantastic. And you're all going to have a chance to hear from him as well about the value and impact a creative aging residency can have. And it's coming from a senior care administrator's perspective. So it's amazing and incredibly important to move our work forward. I also want to thank Dr. John Kay, who I know is not here, but he was wonderful to work with. He has provided he provided the training portion on really cultural appropriation. He gave us his insight on the importance of engaging and celebrating the diverse cultures and communities that are in the room we are working in, whether it's in person or virtual, how to tap into those amazing histories and cultures. And so he did a session on cultural appropriation and how to build that into creative aging residencies. And then finally, I absolutely could not end without thanking the creative team, starting with Posture. They're the marketing and digital design agency we worked with, and all the teaching artists who you're going to have a chance to see shortly. They were just absolutely amazing. It's Tara Middleton, Jenny Hill, Liz Spice, Mark McKenna, Rashida Nambier, really just fantastic people and wonderful artists to work with. So I'm going to now stop talking and get to the good stuff. I'm going to share my screen, but while I'm trying to do that technical switch, I'm going to pass the virtual mic over to Jason so he can kick off our virtual website walkthrough, really sharing with all of us why this work is so important for us and for groups like area agencies on aging and senior centers. And with that, I'm going to pass it to you, sir. So take it away.
Well, thank you, Jamie, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. Thank you, everyone, for having me here today and being able to spend some time with you this afternoon. As Jamie said, we've been working with Dr. Cullen for years now. Since I became director at the Area Agency on Aging, we've been having these conversations. And to see this come to life and to be presented to you all today is so impactful to us and to the work that we do. I just don't really have the words to express it. I have to say, just for a little bit of background, there's 52 area agencies on aging in Pennsylvania, all of us working in our unique communities to try and make sure that the older adults that we serve have the best life possible, have what they need, and also are fulfilled in their communities. I have the good fortune of being the president of the Pennsylvania Association of Area Agencies on Aging. So when I thank you all, I thank you not just for Lackawanna County, this small county in northeastern Pennsylvania, but for all the area agencies on aging in Pennsylvania for investing in this project and investing in our work in this partnership with the Department of Aging. The work that we do, I really like to always describe it as when we do work at senior centers, we're fighting isolation for the last 50 years. We talk about social isolation now. It is a hot button topic now after the pandemic, but it has really been what we've been doing for 50 years in Pennsylvania, trying to make sure those that are needed connectivity have been connected. And one of the most meaningful and powerful ways to do that is through the arts and the work that we do with the arts. And, I get very frustrated when people look at the programming that we have at senior centers and think it's simplistic arts and crafts and sip and paint type activities. They're not. I mean, those are wonderful activities. There's wonderful joy that all of those things bring to us. But the work that we do in senior centers and that is being done with older adults is far more meaningful and has far more impact on their lives. You're not just combating social isolation, you're connecting them to a community. You're giving them purpose. You're giving them abilities to express themselves and work through problems, grief and loss, and so many other emotions with a group of individuals, with professional instructors being guided through the process. The outcomes that we look at from doing these programming is so much more meaningful than people really can comprehend. We are keeping people healthy and safe in the community. We are keeping people out of emergency rooms. We are keeping people from using medication unnecessarily because they have a healthy outlet and an outlet that speaks to them and they get to speak through. This programming is so critically important to what we do. I will just tell one very quick story. I am very proud of my organization. I'm very proud of my community and the work that we do here. And we did have an art show a few months ago here at the government center for one of our senior centers. And we brought all of their art down and had them displayed, and not just displayed very simply, we went all out. We made sure that the display looked as professional as possible. We had a jazz quartet, and we made sure that individuals from the community, as well as the 900 people that work in this building with us every day, had an opportunity to view the art that these older adults produced. The quality and the excitement surrounding the exhibit was immense. People could not believe what was before them. They had expected very simple work, and what they saw was professional grade work that people were actually wanting to buy but couldn't. It was a very meaningful presentation for the older adults. They could not believe the public reception. They could not believe the reception from the individuals in the government center. They were amazed that people were offering them money for their work and that they did not want to part with it. But it showed something very important to all of us, and it showed the importance and the pride and the importance of the connectivity, that they saw that what they were doing was not just for themselves, but it was for everybody. If you come to our government center, you will see on every floor, there is art that the older adults in this community have produced and are hanging on the walls here. We're very proud of that. Every year we do a mural project with our Arts in the Park program that makes sure that older adults are able to create and have the ability to be part of this community forever, so that their mark is left with us. I could keep going. I know I can keep going. I know I'm going to go way over my time, but I have to again bring it into say that the importance of collaboration, the importance of working with the area agencies on aging, and professional artists, professionally trained artists, artists that are prepared to work with older adults, artists that understand what it's like to work with older adults is critically important. This platform gives us the tools that we need to move forward. It gives us the ability to take senior centers and senior center managers and have them connect with individuals that can get our programming to the next level. And I'm exceptionally grateful for it. I think this is something that is going to be not just big for Pennsylvania, it's going to be big for all of us who work with older adults throughout the nation. This is a game changer for us. It's a game changer for the artists that really want to work with older adults. I can't thank Jamie and Dr. Cullen enough for keeping me in the loop on this project and allowing me to be a part of this project. And I can't thank all of you enough for giving me some time to talk a little bit about what we've done here and just what we believe in as we move forward for a better future for the seniors that we serve. I think then I'm going to be passing it over to Dr. Cullen, and Kat, you can take it away.
Thanks, Jason. Good afternoon, everyone. And we are also very grateful to be here and excited to share our work with you. I was asked over a year ago by Jamie if I would be interested in working on a professional development program for older adults. I was delighted to do so, but it was definitely a blank canvas. We really didn't know what we were going to present or how we were going to come about this academy. But the very first thing we did was find 5 phenomenal artists throughout our Commonwealth who wanted to spend time with me investigating new ideas and new thoughts in developing educational projects for older adults. So one thing we want to make really clear is the artists are talented and phenomenally skilled in their fields. We have nothing to say about how fabulous our artists are in Pennsylvania, other than we're so very proud of them, just as you are of your artists. But what we do know is that educational training or educational professional development is really important to establishing residencies that are substantive and that are very engaging to certain populations, such as older adults. So everything in this particular academy has been vetted so that the information for the artists or for those who work with older adults is pertinent to the population of senior citizens. So Jamie has the academy up, and you can see it on the screen. And so
Can you
while
all see it okay? Sorry, Kat. Can everybody see that okay? Are you all right?
we can see it, Jamie.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
I just
thank you
wanted to
so
check.
much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, we can see it. So as we worked with a design team, a very creative design team in Scranton, Pennsylvania, called Posture, and I had a blast. Honestly, I'm a lifelong educator. That's my background. I'm sure you've seen my bio, but I have really had a great fun with the creative aspects of this. It's just been wonderful. So, James, if you would scroll down, the first page has to do with, it's an about page. It shows the viewer, the user, information in general about our academy, what it does, what it involves, and who our funders are, et cetera. But I think what we want to do today is we want to go to the meat of the academy, which are our modules. So in professional development, we have, as Jamie said, there are specific modules. And the way I developed this was I wanted to have it user-friendly, but yet be a sophisticated professional development project. So the first module is on background in research and creative aging. I, as Jamie said, have had the opportunity to conduct a research study for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania through the Pennsylvania Department of Aging and the Pennsylvania Arts Council. So the results of my research are described here. It is published in the journal Educational Gerontology, and I've had the privilege of presenting at the National Scientific Conference of the Gerontological Institute. So I was really, I feel so blessed to be asked by our state agencies to conduct this project on senior isolation. And the synopsis of the project is here for our artists, as well as other recommendations that we made during the research. So you can see the module content here. Other than the research, we have a message from our executive director, an introduction from me, and here's Jason's beautiful talk on aging. He's so passionate, and I want to thank Jason for everything that he does in our state. He's a real asset to Pennsylvania for sure. And then we have the first project was the Artist in Residence program on self-reported loneliness. And then the second research project that I was involved in was actually preempted because of COVID, but we do have some unpublished results that are that I presented here in in the academy. We worked with early onset Alzheimer's patients who were with 3 artists for an entire year. Well, actually, it's going to be 3 years without the pandemic, but nevertheless, we did get some preliminary information, which was really exciting, and that's listed in here as well. And then John Kay's cultural appropriation talk. And then at the end of each one of the modules, there's a formative assessment. And the reason I didn't want to do a traditional paper and pencil test is because I think artists are reflective people. I recommend journaling during the entire experience. So what I've done is I've offered questions that can spark ideas and creativity in artists with regard to how they can specifically connect this information to the work that they're doing now in their field or in their state, in their local region. So each module ends with formative assessment questions. Okay, so then the second, under professional development, the second section is the meat, what we call the meat of the academy. And that is a series of professional development mini modules, if you will, on specific areas of teaching and learning. And I am very interested in evidence-based research on how the brain learns and the relationship between brain learning and effective teaching. So I think Jamie wants to show part of this video. So we want you to see this because we're only going to give you a minute or two just so you get an idea of what the artists or those who work with older adults will experience.
I'm going to discuss some precepts about teaching older adults and the whole concept behind brain-based learning, something I'm very interested in. So the first thing I'd like to discuss are the brain-mind learning principles that have been developed by Kane and Kane. Number one, all learning is physiological. Every brain is unique. Learning is developmental, learning is social, and the search for meaning is innate. So these 5 principles we will be going over in the first part of today's discussion. Learning principle number 1, all learning is physiological. You can see on the screen that there are images of the brain. These are neural images taken with a fMRI, and scientists and researchers and physicians are seeing more and more about how we learn by looking into the process of learning and how the brain changes and reacts during that process. First thing I'd like you to do is watch a video from National Geographic, very short, and it gives a wonderful overview of the physiology of the mind.
Okay, so I want you to know that it's me speaking, conversing. I hope I tried to be as informal as possible, but speaking about how we connect evidence, scientific evidence, to teaching, and specifically to teaching and learning in the arts. So there's this triage of connection here. And I intersperse a lot of videos so that it's interesting. It's not just a talking head. And we tried to present information in such a way that visual, kinesthetic modalities of learning, oral learning was stimulated. So all of the precepts that we're talking about in the academy, we tried to implement in these modules. So there's the second mini module is on adult learning theories. Then this is more of a, if you wanted to, not everything to be lecture based, but they could, artists can read this. It's very user-friendly, as I said, but it gives an overview of constructivism and adult learning concepts. And then the next is talking about the academic standards. Now, why would we talk about academic standards for K to 12 education in an adult learning professional development academy. I think because they're extremely organized, and that for artists to create a highly substantive lesson, they should implement the standards. And we use Pennsylvania standards in this particular academy, but they are based on the National Art Standards. So some of the nomenclature might be a little different, but the concepts are there. So I talked to the artists in this module about utilizing the standards. And then my specific lesson plan structure is based on the information on the brain. So I have created a lesson design based on what I've learned through my studies and 48 years as an educator into 4 areas that are listed here. So attention, connection, creation, and completion. So each one of our lessons follows this format. And in this particular mini module, we have brainstorming sheets for artists to follow, to be stimulated by in the 4 areas of a lesson design. And then we have a lesson plan template they can use. We have sample templates from our artists who created the lessons in this academy. And all of the artists who you will see today worked hours and hours with me on really developing an understanding of teaching and learning in the context of working with older adults. So James, if you could, thank you. We have a section on assessments and objectives as well, and other various aspects of lesson planning, lesson development. I realize artists are not professional educators, but I think if we're going to say we're going to teach people, we need a pretty strong background in education, or at least some level of professional development in how to teach, how to be an effective teacher based on research. Okay, so I think the most beautiful aspects of this are the artists' videos. So they're introduced and then they're segmented into the 4 sections. So as artists review each of these videos and watch demonstrations of the 4-part lesson plan, they interact with artists from different genre of the arts. And this is, we're going to show this particular, this is a co-taught lesson, which is another aspect of the academy, how to work together. But this lesson is with a professional poet and a professional photographer / mixed media artist. And we're just going to play enough of the attention section so that you get an idea of what that section might look like.
Our session invites you to explore the question, who am I? We'll be using objects, play, writing, and photography in this exploration.
All you need for this part of the exercise is a notebook, pen, and a household object. Something that speaks to you in this moment, or maybe it's something right there at your desk, or maybe it's in your living room.
So we invite you now to take a moment and go looking for an object that is interesting to you, that speaks to you with its shape or its texture, or maybe it holds a memory. Off you go, find it. It's waiting. We'll be here when you get back.
Okay, so this is an example of a beginning of a lesson. The next person we're going to look at is Tara Middleton, who's a professional jazz singer and violinist, and she her section is that we'll look at today is the research connection section of her lesson.
Scat singing is vocal improvisation, which means that singers make up music on the spot. It first was used in music in the early 1900s. Usually, scat singing uses random syllables instead of words. Scat singing can copy the sound of a musical instrument. Scat singing allows vocalists the ability to sing improvised melodies and rhythms in order to create a unique sound, the equivalent of an instrument solo. So what is scat singing? Well, let's talk about my friend Gene Green. Gene Green was an American vaudeville and ragtime singer. He was one of the first to use scat singing techniques. There's no evidence of who was the first musician to scat. Reportedly, Gene Green was the first to scat with his recording of King of the Bungalows, and several others between 1911 and 1917. He sang vocables for 2 choruses at the end of his song. Let's take a listen.
So I think this gives you an idea of how the artist. Thanks, Jane. Thank you. We're tag teaming 80 miles apart. So thank you so much, Jane. But anyway, Tara's introduction, she has them warming up their voices. And then that's the second section, the connection section, which relates to, if, you know, certainly this isn't a brain-based lesson, but it connects to the need for our brains to find meaning in that which we're learning. And so we bring people to a historical and cultural connection so that they can jog their memories about what they may know about jazz singers and jazz music. The next section is the creation section, where artists will specifically work in creating art with their participants. And this is Rashita, and she teaches classical Indian dance.
Namaste. Hello friends, it's great to see you back again. So the 12 hand gestures that you just learned in the previous video, guess what? We're going to put all of them together and make a fun routine. Again, you can practice this anywhere. You can do it on the yoga mat, just like how I'm doing it, or you can even do it sitting on the couch or on a chair. You could even do it watching TV. So that's the flexibility of this routine. So let's begin with the first hand gesture, which is the pataka. Now I'm using one hand, but you're welcome to use both hands. So the pataka looks like that, and we're just going to open up the fingers and bring it back to pataka and repeat that 5 times. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Nice job. Let's go ahead and form the tripataka, where we got the ring finger in. And we're going to add a little bit of wrist movement here. So I want you to use your tripataka and move the hands side to side, just like a windshield wiper. Think of a windshield wiper on a car or a bus. So 3, 4. Now you're noticing a little bit of wrist movement here. And 5. Nice job. We move into the Ardha Pataka, which was the third hand gesture.
Thank you, Jamie.
And let's move that hand up and think of flying the flag.
One thing I want you to notice, which of course you do, is we asked our creator, the people that we work with, to make sure. I wanted all the names. I wanted a lot of writing on this, not just the speaking part of the teaching, because we're visual learners, many of us, and I wanted them to have that visual stimulus to help them understand that which they were learning. Also, Rashita demonstrates classical Indian dance before she starts taking apart and teaches the 12 hand motions. And additionally, she does a whole section in the connection section on Indian culture and how it connects to dance. So it's very thorough. And I know you understand this, but we're just showing you clips of the 4 sections. So the last artist we'll look at is Mark McKenna, and we'll show you his completion section where he wraps it all up. Something is really important in brain-based learning, that we reconnect that which we learned to that which we knew previously.
All right. Now, I would like you, I'm going to challenge you to pick one of Shakespeare's sonnets. Go look them up. They're very accessible. And practice and perform it. Apply your aesthetic operations. Or pick a story that, something that really happened to you, but was meaningful. Think of who it would be meaningful to and tell them the story. But practice it, plan it out, figure out how your aesthetic operations fit, and then perform it many times for different people. And each time, reassess it and work on your frets. All right, so I am going to...
He actually performs the sonnet demonstrating the areas of aesthetic learning that he discusses in his lessons. So that was a little taste of the professional development. We also have, as Jamie mentioned, a lessons on demand section where it's more fluid, not as much stop-start, and usable, as Jamie said, in senior centers or in the home. If someone just wants to watch the video and enjoy it, it's start to finish without interruption. And then we recognize that we have many colleagues across the country. I did notice in the chat, someone mentioned Lifetime Arts. Lifetime Arts has the wonderful resources, and we looked at many other resources nationally, internationally on creative aging, and listed those, their live websites. So anyone who gets to this page just clicks on and can find additional information, training, professional development, readings from our colleagues across the country. And if anyone has anything to add to this resource page, if you have something interesting, you can get in touch with Jamie. And we're a live organic academy. And so we'll be adding and reviewing, and we hope to add more artists' videos and more sections on professional development. So this is just 1 year's work. So hopefully, as we move on, we'll be able to even embellish this more and offer artists and those who work with older adults an even more enhanced experience. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and I will just thank you so much, Kat. I hope that was a thorough review. Obviously, there's a lot of other components once you dig into there. One thing I wanted to point out is you see at the top here, it says log out. So I'm currently logged in. To start in the academy, create a free account, gives you, a username and password. And what that allows you to do is go into the training and not have to sit down and do it all at once. You can start the training, you have your own account. You could do a little bit here, a little bit there, and you just, every time you come in, you come back in to where you left off, and then you can start back up again. So you don't have to do, 8 to 10 hours is about how long it takes to go through everything and to complete the assessment at the end. You don't have to do that all at one time. You can come back in and do that over time. So that's why there's a log out, and then you have your account information. So what I wanted to end on is kind of like where we see this going. One thing we do plan to add to the Academy site is another page. We're actually working with Posture right now to create it, but we came up with a series of digital marketing assets. So we have promo videos, we have rack cards, we have postcards, we have social media post information and images that you can use. We're going to have a separate page on here so that when you go into your account, especially for you all that are, if you're a state arts council and you're interested in using this and promoting it to your artists, we'll have a resource page or a marketing page, I should say, on the site that you can go into and you can find information, little pull out, little like 30-second commercials, like online commercials and postcards that you can print out, things of that nature that you can share as a way to promote this to your artist if you'd like. That's something that's being developed right now. It's almost done. And it will be another page on the Academy for Creative Aging site. So that's certainly one way we want to see this grow, because we want to share it. We want, like I said, this is free and hopefully it can be used by folks all across the country. And we want to provide some tools to help promote it for folks if they're interested. The other thing that we're hoping to do, as I think Kat alluded to, is that we see this as the beginning. I mean, this is an amazing beginning. We would not have been able to do this without the Leveraging State Investments in Creative Aging grant. We are incredibly grateful for that. We are hoping to find ways to continue to build this library of not only professional development modules, but also lessons on demand. So, we're going to try to give it at least a year. We want to see what people think. As Kat mentioned, this is a fluid, living, breathing site. So as we see new needs, we want to be able to adapt to those needs and respond to them, whether that be new trainings that we're providing, maybe some new lessons, if that really takes off and folks are really interested in these free online videos that they can watch. We want to build that library too. So we see it growing in that way. And then hopefully, like I said, growing to other states, other areas around the country that may want to use this as a resource. So with that, I'm going to pause because I think we want to leave some time for questions if anybody has any. I did want to let you know that I put into the chat early on a link to the Academy for Creative Aging site. So you can go to that if you would like to. And before we jump off the call today, I will definitely put into the chat my email as well as Dr. Cullen's. And so if you have questions about the Academy, feel free to reach out, certainly. I'm sure Jason would even be, willing to answer maybe any questions you might have about working with area agencies on aging with different senior care providers. Like I said, he's been a champion and amazing. So, pick his brain while he's here. So I will pause, and with that, I'll pass it back to you, Susan.
Yay, I'm so thankful. This is so exciting. And I think you can see from comments that folks put in the chat how meaningful it is and just how really well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I have a bunch of questions lined up, but I see Alan, I see your hand. So chime on in and share your question.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Cullen and everybody. That was really very exciting to watch. Dr. Cullen and everybody, I'm curious to know, I come from a education background, and I know I'm also a theater artist and a music artist. What do you find is the challenges when you're working with artists who don't come from educational backgrounds? It might be very helpful for the state arts councils and for the teaching artists to understand what they're going to have to understand better in order to be able to carry through a more curricular-based program, which you've put together so nicely.
Jamie, you want me to answer that?
Yeah, go right ahead, Kat.
Thank you. Well, thank you, Alan, for asking. And I love to see teachers that become artists. I think it's great. We all have a little bit of creative self, yes? So we weren't able to show you everything in the actual brain-based section, but it's very specific for non-teachers. It is developed specifically for someone who is not trained as an educator, but who wants to learn more about how to be an effective instructor. So maybe you'll have the time to take a look at that. And I'd love to hear from you in terms of how you feel about the specifics of the actual videos that I present as professional development videos for non-teachers who are entering or who are teaching in their profession.
Really great question. Thank you for that, Alan. Other folks who might want to raise their hand and ask some questions here or put them in chat. Okay, while we wait on folks, because I feel it. I feel that people have comments and questions out there, so bring them on. I want to ask a question maybe to Jamie and Jason together a little bit. Last week, we had a really great session on working with senior centers and libraries as either sort of state arts agency or teaching artist or other kind of practitioner. And Diane Stone at the National Council on Aging said something that's lingering with me, which is, if you've seen one senior center, you've seen one senior center, meaning that there's such an array, like just a vast range of needs and communities. And I'm wondering, in terms of the application of this resource for senior centers in Pennsylvania, do you have a sense of working together, how you might work to make it relevant, meaningful, accessible to senior centers, knowing that there are so many different, they all look different? How will you do that?
JV, you want me to?
Yeah, I was going to say, you can take it first, then I'll chime in. Go ahead.
Well, from where I sit, I think there's a lot of versatility here. So we're not a big community. We're a population of 214,000 people in Lackawanna County. 60,000 of those people are older adults that would fall into people that can come to our senior centers. And we have 9 senior centers, 9 very different senior centers. And we don't even call them senior centers. We call our main campuses healthy aging campuses, because we want to get away from the stigma of, this is where you go to play bingo and have mashed potatoes. So, that's what our goal is. So every center is different, but this tool, these resources that we have, let the managers that work through all of the centers, that rotate and communicate with all the people that run the centers, it gives them the resources that they need to individualize the programming for the center they're in. We have a very rural center in Jefferson Township, okay, that we do oil painting in, which you would not think in one of our most rural centers that oil painting's the draw. That's what gets people through the doors, okay? And yet in one of our most urban centers, there's no painting at all. Okay, there's some pottery and there's some other work that goes on at the end. And Dr. Cullen runs a very impressive Arts Engage program, Arts for Life program that helps us with caregiver support. But we don't have a painting program. So, I mean, you could see that you really can't predict what it's going to be, but the resources that we have in front of us today allow the people that run the centers to work with the people that are going to be in those centers and have a curriculum that's meaningful and measurable and, translatable to who we're trying to reach.
Yeah, and I would just add to that. Thank you, Jason. And that is really important to think about the differences in the centers and the communities these centers are in. I will say we are, I feel, very fortunate in Pennsylvania to have an infrastructure of arts and education partners. And so because of that infrastructure, when we started this work with Department of Aging back in 2015, we were able to pilot this in 14 different locations across the state, from very rural settings to more suburban to very urban in the city setting. So because we have that infrastructure of partners, anytime we pilot something, or the research project that Dr. Cullen did, those took place in a variety of types of centers. So the very small community, Potter County, really, really tiny, to Philadelphia. And there are different needs. but at the same time, there's also a lot of similarities in the needs. So we found really wonderful success in working in a variety of centers. I think we are really fortunate to have a Department of Aging that we've been working very closely with. They help us get that communication out to those centers. We've been able to present at our statewide senior center conference that happens annually. We've been able to offer those online training modules that I mentioned at the beginning of my intro that were designed for senior care administrators to provide senior centers and senior care administrators across the state with information on what creative aging is, the evidence-based approach to this type of work, to the development of these kinds of programs, starting back with the Cohen research. So it gives them information from, the bottom, from the beginning, I should say, to where we are now. So I really, honestly, feel very fortunate to have the infrastructure that enables me to be able to do that, because we are a small state agency of 11 people. There is no way I would be able to make those connections in all of the centers across the state. So we have partners like Dr. Cullen. She's one of our partners. We have 13 others that we work with. So I don't know if that answers it, but.
Yeah, well, I think that partnership piece is so important. And, I note that Pennsylvania Council on the Arts was one of the leveraging state investments in creative aging grantees that were kind of building on previous creative aging work in your state, as opposed to designing something brand new. So I think it's a good reminder that something so successful that this took many years to arrive at. I want to note Beth in the chat asked sort of a related question about any suggestions on how to engage and educate senior centers and/or libraries, et cetera, on the value of professional teaching artists as opposed to the norm, which seems to be volunteers or non-professional instructors. And maybe Jason and Kat, that's something for you both to chime in on.
I could say from an aging point of view, from the entities in Pennsylvania that are primarily responsible for senior centers, a lot of that sometimes has to do with funding. So they use volunteers because of funding and not necessarily having the resources to engage professionals. But I think it's important to engage the top in a conversation like this. The people that manage the senior centers are managing every day. It's the directors that have to understand the investment in what you're doing and making sure that the resources are there to access professionals to do programming. Okay, it's not arts and crafts. It's a program, and it's a program that has outcomes, and the outcomes are important when you look at the social determinants of health. The outcomes are important when you're fighting isolation. There's so much more to it than just making an activity happen at a center. And I think that conversation has to happen from the top down so that people believe in what we're trying to do. Okay.
I would add to Jason's comments in that I don't think people are going to sit down and read the Journal on Educational Gerontology, but I do think that excerpting research is important for arts councils or anyone who's trying to promote creative aging, because, and Susan, I saw you just added the Gene Cohen research. Yes, I mean, there's so much available in making those connections between the research on professional artists working with older citizens is clearly indicative that this is the way we should be spending our money. And it isn't to say that in the in-between, people shouldn't be playing games or doing lesser important work, just more fun kinds of easy stuff, and that's fine. But when we're talking about programming and making a difference, we want it to be professional. This website will help centers work with their volunteers. I mean, I'm not saying a day-to-day kind of person who would come in and out, but if someone's employed by a center, they could actually take this academy. and learn more about how to be more effective as a teacher of older people. This is really not meant for, it's kind of heavy. I know it is, but we did that intentionally because we wanted to raise the bar for my age people. We didn't want to just offer just an activity-based project. Someone asked about directions to the videographers and how much time we spent. We spent hours and hours and hours talking, working with the group that created the website. And I had very strict rules as to how it needed to be set up because I wanted to reflect evidence-based research. So it did take a long time to that person asking.
I just wanted to add one more.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Jason.
I just wanted to add one more thing to Beth's question, and Catherine, thank you, because you really spoke to what we've done here. Is the reason we don't call them senior centers, we call them healthy aging campuses, is because they're lifelong learning centers. Okay, it's a campus. You're there for a program for instruction, how to live better, how to improve your health, and programming there is more formal, and they access professionals there. Yes, there's volunteers that help, and we have parties and we have holidays and all of those good things, but the real purpose is to make sure that they live a healthier lifestyle, to make sure that they understand nutrition and arts and all of the values that we need to make sure that they stay in the community and they don't go into a higher level of care. So I'll get off my aging pulpit, I'm sorry.
It's really an important reminder, I think, that there are many ways to support and engage with older adults, and that one does not preclude the other, but that while we're learning, part of what we're learning here is how to not reinforce our ageist stereotypes and the way that we provide services that are actually quite detrimental, so the professionalization, the range of opportunities for artists to be able to engage is important. There's a pathway of learning and growth there. There's a question here about on average, how long does it take to complete a module, and what's your thought process on developing the modules within that time frame?
Sure. I mean, I can speak a little to that, but then, Dr. Cullen can also share. I think we determined it would take about 8 to 10 hours at different individuals' pace, depending on how much time they spend on the reflection piece and the assessments at the end of each of the modules. So I would say 8 to 10 hours is a fair assumption on how long it would take for them to complete it. I did want to add one other thing before I pass it over to Dr. Cullen, is that if I can find it while we're talking, I will put in the chat a link to the training that was designed actually by Elders Share the Arts. So anyone that might have been in this space for a while, that was, organization based in New York. It was kind of really at the beginning of the creative aging movement. The trainings that were designed for senior care administrators were really, really helpful. So anyone that might be trying to figure out what that inroad might be, how to begin that conversation with a AAA, with a senior center or a healthy lifelong learning campus, assisted living facility, whatever it might be. It provides everybody with what creative aging is, where it came from, the Gene Cohn research. It goes into that. It's really foundational. And then the second module talks a little more specific about Pennsylvania and what a residency is and how to find a teaching artist. I mean, it just goes into like the bits, but I'm happy to share that link if it would be useful. It's housed on the Department of Aging, Pennsylvania Department of Aging's training site. So it's going to look weird when you see the link, and it's just like free to register and you can go in. It's that, what is it? The Long-Term Training Institute, Jason. It's like housed on that site. So that's how you get to it. But if it's helpful, check it out, because when we were beginning the conversations, it was the research that opened the doors. So anyway, but I'll pass it over to Dr. Cullen if she wants to add about the module length and all that good stuff.
It's interesting how did one determine how long this professional development should be, or why are the modules this long or that. As I said, we started with a blank slate. We had no idea what we were going to do. And every week, as I kept working on this and thinking about what would be important, I kept adding. Everybody was ready to kill me in the end because we were like, oh, we're done. No, we're not done. No, we have to do this. Right? I'm thinking, oh my God, we have to say something about assessment and summative informative assessments. And it just kept growing. And so in the beginning, it was probably going to be a lot smaller than it is. But I feel strongly as an educator that it is quality and it has enough substance to be effective without being overwhelming. So I don't know if that is a fair answer, but that is a truthful answer.
That is the real world that we live in too. So thank you for that reflection. We are right at time when we have to wrap up. I'm going to ask a really quick yes or no question, though. I think it's important. Does the program offer CEUs towards the NCCDP yearly learning requirement activity directors working in long-term care communities can train?
No. Are you saying it's something for, I'm sorry, that I'm not familiar with all of those acronyms. So are you referring to training that folks that are working in senior care facilities need?
Yes.
It was not designed from that perspective. It's really designed, the modules are designed more for teaching artists or folks facilitating creative aging programs. However, what I hopefully can dig up and find on the Department of Aging site might lend itself more to what they're asking.
Well, you all, thank you so much. And thank you to our attendees who have asked some more questions in the chat. And I will do my best to kind of collect those up and share them with Jason and Jamie and Kat to maybe have some follow-up. But in the meantime, thank you all, really. Pennsylvania's new Academy for Creative Aging is such a valuable contribution to the field. And it really stands as proof of your hard work and commitment to this important work of creative aging. I encourage everybody here to spread the word about it and also to take advantage of it. You know, it's there for all of us. I plan to check it out myself and learn. I'm so intrigued by all of the artists. With that said, thank you all. It's time for intermission. We're going to end the Zoom, start again in 20 minutes. So sign back on to this very same Zoom link and enjoy your break. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in just a minute.
Thanks, everyone.
Take good care.